folks, this is AJ the CEO. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for stopping by. And on this channel we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So I had somebody reach out to me and they were asking about one of the videos that I did where we had a media ministry meeting, well, a monthly media ministry meeting, and they wanted to know kind of like what we went over, what we discussed, and I guess just to laying the groundwork of how you do such a thing. And what I want to do in this video is just talk to you about what goes on at a media ministry meeting. Now, honestly, some of the first things, at no point in time is this considered the only way to do this. This is just something that I do. So again, I've been the president of our media ministry for about 8 years. So the initial thing that I do, and this isn't just media ministry, this is what I do in music as well, is if you're setting up a meeting for your ministry, first off, I would recommend at least do it quarterly at the least, once a month if possible, more if you have the ability to do. The main purpose of a monthly media ministry meeting is really just to lay the groundwork and reestablish the foundation of where everybody is. So when I first came in as the president, our media ministry meeting is first to, people already knew who I was, I already knew who they were, and literally the first meeting was saying, this is the vision that I'm aiming for, which I've already shared with my pastor at the time before I ever brought it to them. And this is where we were making the transition into being more modern, using more technology. So I shared with them what the rewritten mission statement of our ministry was. With that being said, I want to kind of get that in the mind and the spirit of everybody in the media ministry so that we know where we're going. We have a common goal of what everybody knows we're doing. So at the time, it was understanding we're here in the chapel. I started replacing some of the computers to something that was more stable, and the idea is I wanted everybody to be comfortable with how to do the basics of our equipment. That was the goal of our first meeting after establishing our setting the groundwork. Now, the other thing that we focused on was training, and that I mentioned that previously. We were using at the time Easy Worship, and everybody knew just enough to get by. What I wanted to do is kick that up a notch, and I wanted everybody to be comfortable, no matter who it was, being able to put up scripture or anything like that when it comes to our system, as well as how to turn everything on, how to turn it off, and just how to do the basics, which is what we're revising. If you've been watching any of my previous vlogs about what we've been trying to do. So the next thing we did is I honestly sat down, and I'm not Napoleon. I know I'm short, but I'm not Napoleon to where I need to run everything myself. I want to hear what the heartbeat is of everybody in the ministry. What's their concerns? What do they feel that we need to focus on? What are the pain points that they have so that we can address them and try and solve them? So a lot of it was, which is kind of still is meeting more people, because people are stretched thin with the stuff that we're doing. Training is another thing, because again, we're not professional sound engineers, so a lot of times we needed folks I had to research skilled people in those fields to come in and come teach us properly. And then, they just mentioned a lot of stuff, ideas for budget, different ideas. Now, then after that, after I have laid the groundwork, kind of established our vision of what we're doing, hearing the pain points, the concerns, I also come in and then I set a 5-year vision to what we want to do. So at that time, when I came in, we were talking about ultimately getting to the point where we live streamed, had some extra cameras, put some new cameras in place, replaced the computers and all that other stuff. So now that I mention it, and I'm gonna see if I can find the original agenda, and I'll post it up here and I'll share that with you. But a lot of the things we've accomplished. So now is resetting the goal so that we have something else to push for. So again, right now, the main new goal is to raise money to replace these older projectors and get some laser projectors that will last longer, have better quality on our screens here, as well as more future is to replace these cameras with some actual PTZ cameras, so that all of our cameras, so we want to put one here, ultimately get another one to go over there, replace that one back there, and then the 2 Canon G20s will go here and here to replace the other stuff, to replace those cameras, so that we have easier control when somebody's running the cameras. So that way, instead of it being 2 sets of remote controls, we only got one that can control all the cameras there in the church. That's the other goal that we're working towards. And then there are other little stuff that I add into the media ministry that they might not understand, but it's beneficial. So right now, like I think I mentioned it before, we push our signal to all the other TVs here inside the church over coax, but we're recording high definition, but it's going to standard definition everywhere else in the church. So the idea is to raise some money as well, to raise money, donate money, whichever way, to switch out that to a high definition modulator so it pushes out HD everywhere. That's the other goal. And then really it's still training, and kind of like I set the vision as well, and then I ask them what their thoughts are, and then I give them the vision of what I think we need to push from a technology standpoint as well as an understanding standpoint. Now ultimately, in all of this, my goal ultimately, the same way it was with music, is I don't plan on being here forever. I don't want to be 90 years old running the cameras. My thought is whatever we're doing in whatever ministry is to always be educating the next generation behind me. So I'm doing a lot of recruiting and asking a lot of kids to come up and work with us upstairs. Like I told you I have 2 other ladies who are going to join us. One is about the same age as me, 1 year younger than me. And then we have another one who's 13. And then I asked the parents of a boy I always mess with him when I come to church. I always mess with the kids. That's the relationship I have with them. But I want to get them to the point where I actually had an 8-year-old as well. So again, it's never too young. We're looking for people who can listen, and especially if somebody finds this interesting. So, I see a lot of kids who may not be a part of any type of ministry, and I'll just ask. I don't do a blanket message saying, oh, we're looking for volunteers. No, I personally go to each one of these new volunteers and I ask them. And that has been way more productive than me doing a blanket statement asking for people to come. So all of this, all the documentation, all the training, all the write-ups, all the websites, all of that is to lay the groundwork behind me so that when somebody else comes, we leave the place in a better condition than we found it. So the idea is when I step down, everybody has what they need to maintain what was put in place when I got here. And then it can just propel them forward instead of having to re-dig up a whole brand new foundation and start all over again. That's what I feel our purpose is in our ministry and for us to move forward. Because again, we're not going to be here forever. We need to train up the people behind us, get them empowered so that they can do the same thing. So that's kind of my wraparound on a basic meeting. Now, granted, we don't do that every single meeting. That's the initial meeting, and then I break that down, and whatever we come up with, I break off branches off of that. So like right now, what I do is our last meeting was kind of reestablishing that same thing of our schedule, because we assess the strengths and weaknesses of people in our ministry. So the routine of everything that we do was the weakness. So that's why I'm working on that schedule, that generic list, so people can just follow that as a checklist of knowing everything that needs to be done. And then we do breakdowns of everything. So we've been doing training. When I transition over to Worship Extreme, there will be trainings with that, just like I did with Pro Presenter. And then last meeting was a kind of in-depth of OBS, how to get that all set up. We've documented that to all get out. We've done that before, and we've walked everybody through that again, but we're going to do it again. So you just have to be comfortable with repetition. That's how you learn. Repeat over and over again, training over and over again, but also practicing over and over again. And that's the other thing, really working currently with my media ministry, is to take the tools that we got and practice, not in the middle of service, on free time. And that's why I'm really want to get a laptop or something like that, so it's a portable rented system. So a lot of these folks, they don't have computers at home. Surprising, I know. They don't have computers at home. They have the ones that they have from work, so they normally can't install stuff like that. So I want to have one with at least the basic stuff that we have here, so that they can take that computer home and they can work on it, and it will be the same stuff that we're doing here. So that's kind of what I wrap my mind around on setting up a meeting. Is really, and then also the other thing that I mentioned, which is we're scheduled to do, actually I need to schedule to do this again, that our meetings aren't just about training. We also have a get together where we just sit down and have fellowship. I think we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, a restaurant, sports bar here in the area, and we let our hair down. Now, this might be controversial, but I want to have it to the point where we have some camaraderie with each other, to where if somebody wants to drink, I know this is crazy. Let's be honest, everybody ain't super pristine to where they don't do this and they do that. I want to show that you can come as you are. Now, I'm not talking about somebody doing drugs or nothing crazy like that, but if somebody drinks a beer here and there, I don't drink, but if they want to do that and we're in an environment, I want to sit down and have a type of fellowship so we can actually get to know each other beyond the little working relationship that we have here in the media ministry. So we'll have, we'll meet up here. Sometimes we'll set up an event to where, like I tried to set up a time where we all went to the movies together. Some people didn't like that because they don't do movies. Last time they went to the movies was probably during the drive-in. I don't know if y'all remember that. Just research into those. We got another one up here in Richmond, which is kind of cool. Haven't been there in a minute, but it was fun. But I mean, just have fellowship time, like catch up at a house, have a game night, go out to a restaurant, eat, hang out, do something fun. That's what we're doing. Then also setting up times to go to trainings to where we can all learn together as a group. So that's what I do in between. So yes, it's all about perfecting and growing and being skillful in our ministry and with our talents that we have, but also having some fellowship time with each other and understanding the team that you're working with and being able to know more about them beyond just what you hear at church. So that's what I do for a media ministry meeting and training type of regime. Again, the thought is you want to at least at minimum do this quarterly, but if you can do it more often to that, it will help even more. So anyway, if you like this type of content, I'll appreciate a like. Consider subscribing and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. This is AJ, and we'll see you on the next video. Later.